Shalom and welcome back. Let's look at Exodus chapter 23, verse 25. It says, when you serve the Lord your God, he will bless your bread and water, and I will remove sickness or illness from your midst. All right. So the very first thing we need to do is ask the question, why does God bless the bread and water, and why is he not blessing me? If I have a relationship with God, shouldn't I be the one that God blesses? But the blessing doesn't go to me, it goes to the bread and the water. So that's the first question. And the second question that is raised is about the relationship between the relationship with HaShem, the blessing of the bread and the water, and what does that have to do with removing illness? Okay, so first and foremost, let's go back to the Garden of Eden to answer these questions. Why the Garden of Eden? Because that's where the stage is set. That's where it all begins. In the Garden of Eden, what was the mistake we made? What was the sin that we made that got us kicked out? It was eating. So the sages of Israel say that just as it was an act of eating that got us removed from the Garden of Eden, that was the original sin, so too will the tikkun, will the repair, the restoration of man will happen through food and eating. And so let's go further into Genesis. Let's look at the very first time the word eating or food is mentioned in the entire Torah. And it's when God creates the fields and the plants and the trees, and he says they're all suitable for your eating, for consumption. Right? And va'achla is the word in Hebrew. Va'achla, and you shall eat it. It is for your eating, is the numerical value of 86, which is the same gematria or numerical value as Elohim, the name of God. What is the relationship between eating and the name of God? Well, to answer that, first we have to look at what is the role of this particular divine name. There are many different names of God in the Torah. Elohim is an interesting one. One, because of the grammar is plural. If we're talking about one God, Jews are very, very big on there being only one God. How is it possible that Elohim is plural grammatically? And to answer all these questions, we have to go to the very first verse of Genesis. Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 1. And I'm going to translate the first part of this verse literally, not like the translations that you're used to in the English. In the English, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. But know this, that the original Torah text was not written with punctuation. The idea is that every word, because there's no punctuation, the approach to the text is that it's a divine text. It's a holy text. That means there's prophetic messages in there, secrets of creation in there. And if there's no punctuation, we have the liberty and the flexibility to take a word as a concept unto itself. That we could take a phrase, any biblical phrase, as a concept in unto itself, meaning removed from its context. So we can take a verse as a concept unto itself. So now we're going to translate the beginning of the Torah. It says, Bereshit, in the beginning, bara was created, Elohim, God. In the beginning was created Elohim. What do the Kabbalists teach this means? What does it mean in the beginning, the first act of creation was God? Well, there's something that is higher than Elohim, and that is Lord. Elohim is God, but Lord, Yud, He, Vav, He, HaShem, or what we call Adonai, is the one by which all worlds is created. All the different heavenly worlds and the physical world right? Everything comes from one light of creation that is HaShem or Yahweh, whatever you want to look at it. Elohim is the distributor. Elohim is a plural word. What does Elohim mean? Elohim means the one as it manifested through the many, the one as it is manifested through the plurality of creation. That plurality of creation by which the one is expressed and manifested through is called Elohim. Elohim also means the laws of nature, all the laws of nature and the physical world, right? So Elohim is really like a medium by which the light of God is expressed and by which the entire universe is sustained, right? So what does this all mean? It means that Elohim is the first act of creation. Let there be light is the second act of creation. But the reason why Elohim was introduced to the cosmic divine plan is because light cannot be transmitted in the universe without a medium. That medium is through the divine name Elohim. Now that we know Elohim is a medium of God's divine light, now we can connect it back to the word food. Just as Elohim is a medium of light, so is food. Food is a medium by which spiritual, not just physical, but spiritual nourishment is transmitted through food. Okay? The biblical tradition, the Jewish tradition, takes eating very seriously. It's not just a biological necessity. It's more than that. It's also a carrier by which light and spiritual energy is transmitted. So where do we see this? We see this like in the story of Abraham and the angels. If you remember that Abraham had visitors, he had guests. They were angels. They came to visit him, and it says, the Torah says, that he prepared a meal for them. And the Torah says they actually ate the food. The commentators are very, very disturbed by this. How is it possible that angels, even though angels are spiritual beings that can partially or even fully manifest in a physical form, they do not have the same biological functions that human beings do. They don't need to go to the bathroom. They don't need to sleep. They don't need to eat. They don't need to drink and hydrate. They have no sexual desires. They're angelic spiritual beings, merely in the garment of a physical person. So how is it possible that they have a digestive system like a human being that they ate? So Rashi, the commentary, says they acted as if they ate. It's as if they ate, but they didn't really eat. The Kabbalists say, no. They really did eat, but they ate as angels eat, not as human beings eat. So when the Torah says, and they ate as angels eat. How do angels eat? They eat the nourishment, the spiritual nourishment of the food. So Abraham prepared those meals with loving kindness, with godly intent to host guests, and that is what the angels were able to taste. That is what they digested. They internalized Abraham's loving kindness and his spiritual and godly intent to host guests. We do the same thing as human beings. And the best example of this is mothers cooking at home. When mother cooks a meal, it's not just a biological necessity that we stuff our faces, but it is her cooking that is her language of love. And it is our eating that we receive our mother's love. And that's why our favorite comfort food is what we ate growing up at home. And we spend our entire lives regarding comfort food as whatever mama made us earlier in our lives. And so now that we know eating is a medium to transmit more than just physical nutrients, we can understand that when God blesses the bread and the water, that's godliness going through. So let's go to the second question. The second question is, why didn't God bless human beings directly? And why does he have to bless the food? And it goes like this. It's when God blesses a human being, we think of abundance, right? When you see that someone has a new job or healthy children or a beautiful house, a lot of money, we said, wow, you're truly blessed, right? So somehow on a human level, we associate abundance and quantity with blessing, but that's far from the truth in spiritual reality. The spiritual reality, which is really the ultimate reality, as I understand it, okay? So in the spiritual world, it's not the quantity of what you have that makes you better off in life, that makes you wealthy and blessed, but the efficiency of what you have. Meaning, if you only have a little bit and that goes a long way, that's blessing. Meaning like this, if a human being has, let's say, several houses, many cars, a lot of money, and does a lot of, his wife goes on shopping sprees all the time, and the children have fancy whatever gadgets and clothes and all that's not blessed. That's not being blessed, because we don't know what their inner life is. Most people in America are sick, are spiritually sick. And some of them, I'm not picking just on the USA, but amongst the wealthy, there is some serious illness going on, spiritual illness. It doesn't matter on the external how much abundance that they have. They're bottomless pits for needs and wants. If what you already have does not satiate you, it's insufficient to feed that bottomless pit of needs and desires. If you stay hungry even after you ate, if you stay unhappy even though you've had a whole week of entertainment, something is wrong. So when God blesses your bread and water, it's the efficiency. It's that blessing is transmitted directly from God's nourishing through the medium of bread and water, and that can last a long way. What does it mean? What is an example of it lasting a long way? It's like, brother, sister, I don't have that many needs and wants. Maybe you're hungry for, you already have the iPhone of this year and you're still hungry for the next iPhone. You have a car but you want to upgrade it. You have a house but you want a bigger house, or you want a second vacation. That's on you, brother. That's your hunger. Me, I'm content in my spirit. My spirit is healthy. And now we get to the last part of that verse. God blesses the bread and water, and I will remove illness from your midst. All the commentaries say the same thing. This is not physical disease, that kind of illness. There are biblical verses that deal with that specifically. Here, the illness they're talking about is an illness of the spirit. It's being irritable, restless, and discontent, no matter how much food you have on your table, no matter how much you have in the bank, no matter how much you possess and own. If you're still hungry, if you're still unsatisfied, that is spiritual illness, illness of the spirit. And the rabbis knew about this long, long, long ago. Before Sigmund Freud, they knew about something going on up here. And so when you serve, going back to the verse, when you serve the Lord thy God, when you have a relationship with higher power, God nourishes you. How do you know the nourishment is taking effect? Because the illness of being discontent is lifted. I'm happy with what I have, truly, truly happy. Rich or poor, doesn't matter. I've been at both ends of the spectrum. I've been there homeless. I've been there divorced and lonely at the bottom. And Baruch HaShem, thank God, I'm a homeowner and I'm married and everything. I live in a tropical island, semi-retired, all that. Doesn't matter. The consistency, doesn't matter what variations and fluctuations that life puts you through, the consistency of having God at your center, whether you choose to do that through traditional religion or through a personal, direct relationship with God, that is your business. The idea is to have a relationship so that that bottomless pit of cravings, of needs and wants is lifted, so that you feel satiated, you feel that enough really is enough. And the last thing I want to leave you with is an analogy. The analogy is medication. God forbid, let's say you're sick and you go see a doctor, and the doctor offers you 2 ways to take the medication. You can take it every day for a long period of time so that you have more. You have more equals more, right? Or you can take the medication one time. That's it. You don't have to take it every day. So which one is better for you, for your health? What is your preferable choice? Daily, more? Or take it one time, which means less is sometimes more. Of course you're going to choose the latter. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes less leads to more happiness, leads to more fulfillment. And so that's what I mean by the efficiency. It doesn't matter. The quantity doesn't matter. It's the efficiency of what you have. How much mileage you get, happiness mileage, peace mileage you get with just what you have. And when it goes a long way, when you really have that peace in your life, that is spiritual health. And that comes from an everyday relationship, a conscious contact with a higher power, whatever name you want to give it. If you have that relationship, it lifts the worry. It lifts the anxiety. And it replaces it with serenity and peace. Great learning with you. Until next week, have a great, blessed week.